Now listen to what U.S. Trade Rep Jameson Greer had to say about trade negotiations with China. Roll it.
We want to be able to trade with China, but we want to do it in a way that's healthy and good for our economy. And so that means that we need to have balance with them. We can't have all these huge amounts of imports flooding our country, being dumped onto our market, undermining our workers, undermining our manufacturers. We need to be able to export to them. We make a lot of agricultural goods, manufactured goods that should be very competitive in their markets. They keep them out unfairly. And so if we're going to have a good trade deal with China, it has to address those things. We have to have a more balanced relationship. They have to provide market access.
Economist Art Laffer joins me now. Art, we are both free traders, you and I, but again, the deals that China has been getting from the World Trade Organization, from the United States, from a whole series, goes far beyond what I think is reasonable considering their position. I mean, they're still considered a developing nation by the WTO.
Yeah, they do, and they do get better deals. And, the real thing I hope happens with Jameson and the team with Trump is they get China to reduce their barriers to U.S. products.
Yes.
Their barriers to U.S. products hurts them and hurts us. And I am very, very hopeful that they'll be able to do something really, really substantial. Because China, David, is our biggest potential trading partner in the world. If you look at comparative advantage, there's nothing that matches U.S. trade with China and China trade with the U.S. We need them desperately, and they need us desperately. And plus, it's really good for world peace.
Absolutely.
If you talk about, you don't want to go to war with your trading partners. You don't want to do that. And if we could get them, David, it would be a huge, huge, huge win for Trump and for America.
Art, I want to invoke the name of the late Charlie Kirk, because he was known for a lot of things, but he did not so much for economics, but he spoke about the affordability crisis among young people. We now have a possibility of giving out some of these enormous revenues that have come in from tariffs. Some people say, including our friend Larry Kudlow and others, that maybe now is the time to give some of that money back directly to people, specifically the young people who are now suffering from this affordability crisis that Charlie Kirk spoke about. What do you think about that? Giving back that $300 billion or whatever it turns out to be in tariff revenue directly in checks. It would come to about $1,900 per taxpayer.
I don't think we should give anything back, to be honest with you. We should cut income tax rates, David, and create economic growth. There's only one thing that's going to make young people more prosperous, and that's economic growth and prosperity. Lower unemployment, higher paid jobs. That's where young people can survive and make it and become very prosperous in their older years. And, tax rate reductions are far better than checks and handouts and payments and welfare. Think about it this way. Which would you prefer? Giving people money who don't work, or reducing tax rates on people who do work?
Well, giving money to people who work would be part of this, because these would be taxpayers by definition. It wouldn't go to non-taxpayers. But we could debate this a little more, but I want to do one final note about what's happening with the Fed. The Senate has confirmed Stephen Myron as the newest governor in the Federal Reserve Board. He's going to keep his post as chair of the White House Economic Council, opting to take an unpaid leave of absence. Some say there should be a very clear dividing line between the White House and the independence of the Fed, to which you say what?
I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. He took a leave of absence. That makes perfect sense to me. He is being appointed by Trump. He has loyalties to Trump and all that. And he's a darn good economist, David. I know him a little bit. I had dinner with him last week and then lunch with him, where he ate and I didn't, by the way. And he's really good. He's got his he's very clear-eyed, and I'm very impressed with him. And when you look at the vice chairman of the Fed, all right, and that's Pierre Yared, he's a great economist too. He's really good. So there is no conflict of interest. There is no impropriety in taking a leave of absence as opposed to resigning. I would have done exactly what he did, and I don't think there's any question it doesn't affect his objectivity or what he's going to do on the Fed.
Excellent
I think that's
stuff.
great.
Art Laffer, this is Varney. We got to move on. I could talk to you for an hour. Thank you very much for being here, my friend.
Thank you, sir.